I want Da Vinci my kicks. Audemars can't see when it tick. I'm at war, I might send a blitz. Kill 'em off, I feel like John Wick. Make me sick, so I need a hug.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to You're Not Gonna Like This. This is part B of episode 2 on social justice. I had the same people that was joining us in part A, J.Halfaday and PJ, my co-host. So for this part, we're gonna talk about professional league movements. And with the professional league movements, we're really gonna focus on how most professional leagues responded to Jacob Blake being shot. First, we're going to look at the NBA. So if y'all have not seen that the NBA, they had canceled their games for the last 2 days in response to the shooting. And I feel like that is great. But like PJ said, it starts to get political like every time somebody makes a notion to get advocate for social justice. And it shouldn't have to come to that in my eyes. I feel like American sports should not have to protest or stop themselves from doing what they're doing just to advocate for social justice. They should never warrant that or get to those extremes, and that's not okay at all. And first, with the game protests, I'm gonna let PJ and Jordan speak on how they feel about those.
You go ahead, Jordan.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you got it.
All right. Well, for one, I'm against their protest or their strike because it was short. I almost want to say it did nothing, like for the NBA specifically. Like, I get it. Like, y'all remember what Kyrie was saying at the beginning, like before the restart started. Like, we shouldn't be playing. There's a lot going on right now. We could be doing a lot more with our resources and our energy and all that stuff. So they went ahead and went against what Kyrie was saying, and he's the vice president of the NBA Players Association or whatever. So, like, they went against that, and he sat out for the semester for his own personal reasons. And that's cool. They started the season over, and I'm like, all right, fine. Y'all can have the season. I'm with that. But then when they take a day or two, it wasn't even a full day. They said, we're going to stop playing. We're going to strike in response to social justice issues and stuff like that. But then the very next day, they're going to resume play. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, it's not really doing much for y'all. Y'all should have just kept playing at this point. Like, y'all could have started all those social justice movements without stopping the season for a day. It just looks like a performance to me almost. But all the stuff behind the scenes that they're doing are very good, like how LeBron has the thing with the Dodgers where they're turning the stadiums into voting centers. That's very good. Or like the thing Donovan Mitchell just did, all the sales of his sneaker for the next 48 hours are going to a college fund for Jacob Blake's children. And then Adidas is matching that. So it's up to like $90,000 for each of their kids. So that's the good thing. But the strike, y'all could just miss me with that. If y'all was going to strike, y'all should have strike from the beginning of the season. Like, I ain't going to drag it, but they got a lot of power when you talk about money. If they say, we're going to sit out for this whole season, them NBA owners going to be on the phone with a lot of their governors and mayors, and stuff going to change like that. Like, billionaires have a lot of change, and the players that work for these billionaires have a lot of leverage themselves. If LeBron said, I'm sitting out next season, unless I get this, that, and that, I guarantee you LeBron will get what he wants because that's LeBron.
So I agree with you to like the point where I think that if you're gonna do something like a strike or something like that to protest, you got to be willing to go all in for it. You can't just do it one day and then keep playing the next day. But I think that's more on, I think they did the strike because of what the Bucks did, and I believe they had a meeting to figure out their next steps. And a lot of the other teams were kind of upset with Milwaukee because they just decided to do it unilaterally. They didn't let anybody know. So I mean, I feel like they might have been a little pressure to strike on their own because it may have been a bad look for Milwaukee to strike and nobody else did anything. But I think this all goes to what Kyrie said, that they shouldn't be playing because you can't continue a season and do strike mid-season because what's the point of going into the bubble if you're just going to strike mid-season? I think that they should have just kept playing and then made their impact after they did what they needed to do. A lot of the players in the NBA aren't even in the bubble anymore because they're in the playoffs. So at the end of the day, you just gotta you should have reached out to your NBA brothers, told them, hey, I want to do this, and created some type of initiative that they could have started while they were at home, and you could have just sewed into when you got out. I think that if you're gonna make a stand for social justice or whatever, like Jordan said, you gotta be all in and apply pressure to these owners to sew into what you're trying to do. An owner's not going to allow their NBA team to not play a season because they're missing out on money. And these owners have a lot of power and influence over their respective cities. They could get in touch with these mayors, with these governors, and really try to get some change for social justice and things. So yeah, I agree with what Jordan is saying, and I think that striking that one day thing was a good gesture, but it really didn't do anything in the long run. So I just like to see more of a more developed plan of action rather than just doing something on the fly and not having any plan after you do it. But yeah, we all know where the NBA stands and where the players stand. I just think that it almost seemed performative for them to strike for that one day. So yeah, I agree with what Jordan was saying.
Yeah, I have to assert that. I guess. I agree with both of y'all, of course, because I feel like with that, I feel like the striking was essentially really pointless because when George Floyd got killed and they thought about not going to the bubble and continue just to protest social justice for that whole summer or what would be the NBA offseason anyway. Trust me, I'd have been definitely okay with if the NBA said we will not continue 2019-2020 season to protest social justice, and they will continue as is with the 21 season in October. And that would have been just fine because they're doing what the NBA has always been about, advocating for all, and that's always what it has been. And I feel that was necessary to for the NBA to take that break because now they kind of refocused. They've actually kind of figured out what they're trying to do while they're actually here. And then when the season does end, they're gonna go and protest for social justice. And they probably will do it anyway after season end because what I do know is that the NBA probably is going to delay their off season because they said that ending in October and then starting right back up in December is a really, really short time span. So if they delay it, I definitely see the players going out there and advocating as well. Secondly, with the NFL canceling their practices now, that's a big step. That's a big step because with the NFL being in training camp right now, all eyes on the NFL, of course, and not only because it's training camp, because the NFL they're struggling handling the coronavirus protocol. So really all eyes on the NFL right now. And with them striking out on practice and Ryan Tannehill making that speech he did make and all others making their stands, I feel like that's great. And it's just like I would say excellent to see that all the professional leagues coming together and all doing some kind of gesture or performance to show that they're not okay with what's going on in America at the standpoint. Anybody?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Peter.
I think that I think it's cool. I just wish the NFL had something like this not too long ago with Kaepernick, and I think that a lot of owners are wishing they probably would have listened to what Kaepernick was trying to say because it was just him back then, and it wasn't really affecting their money because he was kneeling. And I think that they wish that they would have applied more pressure back then to kind of prevent the stoppage of play in it, or the potential stoppage of play in the NFL to happen. So, but I think that the thing with the NFL is really showing how times have changed. I feel like a lot of players back then they weren't willing to do stuff like that. They weren't willing to stop play and cancel practices and things of that nature. And I think that it's really showing how profound everything is at this moment. A lot of people are actually outraged by the fact that black men are getting shot, black men are getting killed, and it's showing through different leagues. And it's really cool to see kind of how things like this are bringing everybody together. And you wouldn't even think the NFL would do anything, that really shows they care about things like this, because a lot of the NFL owners and a lot of NFL personnel, let's be honest, are racist. They have some opinions that don't go along with what BLM stands for, what black lives are about. And at the end of the day, it's showing that we have the ability to come together, and it's all a matter of putting it all together. I think that they should try to partner with the NBA and find some actual ways to create change. But yeah, I like what I see. I hope during this NFL season that they put an emphasis on trying to push for social change and maybe come up with some initiatives to empower black lives and support black businesses and things of that nature, like the NBA does. I think that would be way more impressive to me than them, just canceling some practices. But canceling practices is a good first step. So
before Jordan goes, shout out to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll came out with a statement. He said that this season is a protest season. So with that being said, don't be surprised to see how Seahawks sit out actual NFL season games this year just to make a stand and get change in America. Go ahead, Jordan.
Nah, that's really good points. Especially what PJ said, the NFL wishes they would have just took the kneeling that Kaepernick was doing back 2016, 2017. Like, if y'all would have just applied pressure then, y'all wouldn't have to do all this now. But now it is what it is. I think a big thing is that you see a lot of celebrities waking up and going back home and getting back in tune with their communities. When you make a little bit of money, you get to Hollywood, you get to Miami and the other places, like, you don't really see the same things that you saw when you was growing up or when you was first getting into the league. Now that you got some money, you're not really seeing your cousins and them getting arrested or like harassed by the police officers and that. So now that they can see it, like the George Floyd thing being widely spread like across the world, not even just America, they're starting to wake up and they're starting to advocate and push for all these social causes, which is a good thing. But really, I think I don't know if this is in the next part, but the biggest advocates, I say, and the people that have been doing a phenomenal job over the last few years is the WNBA. I got to give them their props. They really do an exceptional job with all the things they've been doing, and they consistent with it.
Yeah, that's definitely in the next part C. And before we go and end part B, with Roger Goodell, he did go on an interview and he said that he wishes he listened to Colin Kaepernick sooner. And it's good to see that, because that means Roger Goodell has realized that he's accountable for not trying to make a difference earlier when Colin Kaepernick was first protesting. And that's something you like to see when people are accountable for making mistakes. But anyways, that is all we have for part B. Join us for part C so we can really talk about the main portion of social justice episode with the WNBA movement. This is Ira signing off, followed with PJ and Jordan, and see y'all soon.